Ice needles rode a screaming wind, a wind that clawed across the plains, swallowing the world in a blinding white fury. This was a killer blizzard, the kind that erased trails, froze lungs, and whispered death. And lost within it, impossible but terrifyingly real, faint cries. Children, weeping in the heart of the storm's roar. Hasteen heard them. A Navajo warrior, his senses as sharp as the wind's bite, caught the thin, desperate sound near the edge of Redemption Creek. It wasn't just lost children. His gut screamed something colder, something wrong. Why were they out here alone, in the teeth of a blizzard that could strip flesh from bone? Finding them, he knew with chilling certainty, would uncover a truth someone had tried to bury deep beneath the snow, a secret far more terrifying than the storm itself. Hasteen lived solitary, his presence a quiet shadow against the foothills that watched over Redemption Creek. He was a man apart, belonging neither to the settlers' struggling world nor fully to the ways of his people further south. His movements were deliberate, his eyes missing nothing. The flicker of movement in the brush, the tension in a stranger's shoulders, the lie behind a too-quick smile. Survival had etched vigilance into his soul. Past losses fueled a need to see the patterns others missed. Redemption Creek was a raw scar on the landscape, a few rough buildings clinging together against the vast indifference of the plains. Its people were hardened by sun and wind, quick to lend a hand but slow to trust the unknown, including the quiet warrior who understood the land in ways they never could. Months earlier, Marcus Cole had arrived, trailing 3 small children and a story soaked in sorrow. His wife, Mary, he'd explained, voice thick with manufactured grief, had perished from fever on the trail. Ben, the oldest at 8, was unnervingly quiet. 6-year-old Sarah had eyes that held ancient shadows. Little Timmy, just 4, clung to his father like a burr. Cole played the grieving widower well. Tall, presentable, his face could crumple into convincing sadness. The townsfolk offered sympathy, aid, accepting his story. But Hasteen watched. He saw Cole's hand grip Ben's arm, less comfort than control. He saw Cole's eyes, when he thought no one looked, turn cold and flat as slate when regarding the children. Once, near the creek, Hasteen saw Cole roughly pull Sarah back from the water's edge, his face contorted not with worry, but with sharp, ill-concealed irritation. The children's silence wasn't mournful. It felt brittle, like thin ice over dark water. Fear, Hasteen recognized, had built their dam of quiet. The air turned sharp, the sky bled color, promising a brutal storm. Settlers rushed, securing homes against the coming onslaught. Winter here wasn't merely harsh, it was a hungry beast. Hasteen made his own preparations, his gaze drifting towards the settlement, towards Cole's cabin, a knot of foreboding tightening in his chest. Storms like this didn't just bring snow. They ripped away facades. And then it hit, a wall of white, descending with shocking speed and violence. The world vanished. Redemption Creek became isolated islands of dim light in a roaring void. Travel wasn't just difficult, it was suicide. Amidst the chaos, a chilling realization dawned. Marcus Cole was missing. He'd ridden out that morning, supposedly east, towards Providence for supplies, claiming he'd left the children with Martha Willow, an older woman nearby. Sheriff Barlow, a man whose face was a map of frontier anxieties, battled drifts to Martha's cabin. The old woman looked startled, then worried. No, Cole hadn't left the children. She'd specifically told him she couldn't manage them with the storm coming. She hadn't seen hide nor hair of him or the little ones all day. Unease curdled into fear. Maybe Cole panicked, overwhelmed by grief, trapped by the blizzard. Did he just run? The thought felt ugly, disloyal, but the frontier bred harsh possibilities. Explanations settled on confusion, on a grieving father's fractured mind, on the storm's blinding fury. Hasteen, caught near the settlement's edge checking winter snares, had found scant shelter beneath a rock overhang as the blizzard exploded. He waited for a lull, the wind of physical force trying to tear him apart. In a brief easing of the gale, the sound came again, carried on the wind. Children crying. Not one, but several voices. Thin threads of pure terror, slicing through the roar. Close. Chillingly close. Out on the open plains, east of the creek. His blood ran cold. Martha didn't have them. Cole was gone. The children were out there. Alone. His earlier unease solidified into grim certainty. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't panic. This felt planned. He pulled his wrap tighter, the image of those small, fearful faces burning in his mind, and stepped out into the white hell. He had to find them, and he had to understand the terrible reason why they were there. He moved into the maelstrom, a lone figure against the white rage. Landmarks gone, the ground a treacherous lie of hidden drifts. He pushed onward, guided only by the intermittent, desperate cries. Every breath was an agony of cold. His senses strained, reading the unseen contours of the land, the subtle shifts of the wind, fighting the disorienting whiteout. Time lost meaning. There was only the struggle, the wind scream, and the thin, fading sounds pulling him forward. Then, through the swirling snow, a flicker of darkness. A shallow depression, barely a ravine, offering pathetic shelter. And within it, 3 tiny figures, dusted white, huddled together like fallen birds. He approached slowly, his heart constricting. Ben, Sarah, Timmy. Lips blue, faces streaked with frozen tears, clothes utterly inadequate. Ben instinctively tried to shield the others. Sarah's whimpers were a low, continuous sound of despair. Timmy was terrifyingly still, his small eyes wide and unseeing. They weren't just cold. They radiated a fear deeper than the storm. Hastine knelt, speaking softly, first in Navajo, then English, assuring them he meant no harm. Ben flinched, recoiling from his voice, his touch. This wasn't just fear of a stranger. It was fear born of betrayal. Survival first. He found a slightly deeper overhang, gathered scarce, dry twigs shielded by rock, and coaxed a tiny fire to life. A fragile defiance against the cold. He chafed Timmy's icy hands and feet, wrapping the dangerously lethargic child in a spare layer from his own pack. He got a little water into Sarah. His eyes absorbed the details. This spot miles from town, off any path, deliberately obscure. Their clothes, thin coats, useless against the blizzard. They were brought here, left here, abandoned. He looked into Ben's eyes, seeing past the terror to a flicker of awareness. He asked the boy, his voice calm, how they came to be here. Ben shivered violently, words tumbling out, broken by cold and fear. Papa. Papa was angry. Shouted. Hurt Mama. The boy's eyes widened with remembered horror. He brought us here. Told us wait. Said he'd come back. Ben dissolved into choking sobs. Hastine felt the cold seep into his bones, a chill unrelated to the blizzard. Hurt Mama. Angry. Told us to wait here. The pieces didn't just fit. They formed a picture of calculated cruelty. Cole hadn't panicked. He hadn't gotten lost. He had driven his children into the wilderness, lied to them, and left them to freeze. This wasn't mere abandonment. This was attempted murder, cloaked by the storm. The horrifying truth was clawing its way to the surface. He had to get them back. Immediately. The journey back was a nightmare fought step by agonizing step. Hastine carried Timmy, the small body worryingly limp against his chest. He urged, guided, half-carried Ben and Sarah through waist-deep drifts, shielding them with his own body against the wind's relentless assault. He spoke constantly, low words of encouragement, a steady anchor in the howling chaos, scanning the white void not just for the path, but for any sign of Cole, though instinct told him Cole wouldn't risk being seen near the ravine. Finally, faint lantern glows pierced the gloom. Redemption Creek. He forced his exhausted limbs faster, shouting as he approached the first cabins. Doors opened. Bundled figures emerged, faces peering through the snow, widening in disbelief, then horror. The stoic warrior, coated in ice, carrying one child, herding 2 more, who looked like ghosts carved from snow. Hands pulled them inside, into the welcome heat of Martha Willow's cabin. The small space filled with hushed shock and rising anger as the settlers saw the children's state. Blankets appeared, broth was warmed. Ben and Sarah huddled together, mute with trauma, while Martha frantically worked over Timmy. Into this tableau of rescue and outrage, Marcus Cole made his entrance. He threw the door open, faint panic etched onto his features, snow dusting his shoulders. "My children! Thank God!" he cried out, his voice cracking with false emotion. "I got turned around lost in the storm, couldn't find my way. Then I heard shouting." He rushed towards them, arms wide. The reaction was chilling. Ben shrank back, pressing against Hastine. Sarah cried out, hiding behind Martha. Timmy remained unresponsive. Cole froze, his actor's mask slipping for a fatal second, revealing a flicker of something cold and hard beneath. He recovered instantly, turning to the crowd, hands gesturing helplessly. The blizzard so fast. I told Martha a misunderstanding. He looked near tears, the picture of a distraught father. Many settlers, wanting to believe the best, nodded sympathetically. Tragic misunderstanding. The awful storm. Sheriff Barlow pushed forward, his face grim. "Cole, Martha says there was no arrangement. Your children were found miles out, nearly frozen solid." Cole wrung his hands. His voice choked. "Sheriff, I swear, I must have misunderstood. Or maybe my grief. My mind not right since Mary passed. The snow, it blinded me. Lost my way. Came straight back when I could. I never meant. My poor babies." Barlow glanced from Cole's performance to the terrified children, then met Hastine's steady, unreadable gaze. The warrior stood silent by the door, a sentinel of quiet judgment, having missed nothing, not the children's recoil, nor the subtle tension beneath Cole's feigned relief. Barlow sighed, the weight of the situation heavy on him. Accusing this man now, without proof. He told Cole they'd talk later, that the children needed care first. As the immediate crisis eased, Hastine drew the sheriff aside. His voice was low, urgent. "Sheriff, that man lies. The children were not lost. They were left. Deliberately. Where the storm would take them." The boy spoke truth. Fear like theirs is not born of weather. It is born of the hand they trust. Barlow looked deeply troubled. He knew Hastine's worth, his unnerving accuracy. But left to die? It's a monstrous thing to suggest, Hastine. Cole seems broken by grief. His grief is a shield, Hastine stated flatly. Watch him. Watch them. The truth is in their eyes. Barlow rubbed his jaw, conflicted. I need more, Hastine. More than instinct. More than a traumatized child's words distorted by fear. I need proof. Hastine nodded slowly, his gaze already distant, focused on the snow-covered plains outside. The snow holds tracks, he murmured. Sometimes it holds the truth. He knew the blizzard wasn't just a cloak for evil, it was also a canvas. As soon as it allowed, he would read the story Cole had tried to erase. Before true dawn, while the wind still moaned but the blinding white had subsided, Hastine slipped out of Redemption Creek. He moved silently, unseen, carrying only what was necessary. He ignored the direct path to the ravine. Instead, he circled, searching for the tracks Marcus Cole had made before the supposed disorientation began. He found them. Faint, partially drifted over, but undeniable to his eyes. They didn't lead east towards Providence, as Cole claimed. They led northeast, into a stretch of desolate, broken country utterly devoid of trails or purpose. Why go there first? Hastine followed, patient, relentless. The snow whispered its secrets. Here, Cole's horse had floundered. There, boot prints showed he dismounted, pacing, agitated. The trail solidified. Hastine moved faster, closing in on the truth. He reached the shallow ravine. In the cold gray light, he saw the small, tragic details missed in the storm's fury. The tiny, frayed mitten near where Timmy had collapsed. The torn scrap of fabric on a thorn bush, hinting at resistance. This was the place of betrayal. But the journey wasn't over. He followed Cole's tracks leaving the ravine, confirming they led back towards town. Then, crucially, he returned to Cole's initial path, the one leading into this desolate area before he reached the ravine. What purpose lay hidden out here? He pushed deeper into the broken land. The wind had swept some patches bare, piled drifts in others. And then he saw it. An unnatural disturbance. A place beneath the low juniper bough where the snow lay wrong, hastily concealed. Kneeling, Hastine brushed away the fresh powder. Frozen earth. Clumps of soil carelessly piled. A shallow depression, hastily dug. A grave. A cold fist clenched around his heart. He scanned the area. The wind, Cole's intended accomplice, had become Hastine's ally. It had shifted the snow just enough to reveal something metallic wedged against a rock near the disturbed earth. His fingers closed around it. Cold. Silver. Intricately etched. He lifted it. A heart-shaped locket. Delicate floral patterns. He remembered the talk. Mary Cole's cherished possession. A gift from her mother. Always worn. Supposedly buried with her after the fever took her on the trail. He stood, the locket heavy in his palm, the terrifying truth crystallizing in the frigid air. Cole hadn't just abandoned his children. He had murdered their mother first, buried her out here like trash, then driven the only witnesses into the blizzard's teeth, counting on the storm to silence them forever, leaving him the grieving widower free. Ben's terrified words echoed. Papa was angry. Hurt Mama. It wasn't just anger. It was murder. He closed his fist around the locket, the cold metal a brand against his skin. He had the proof. Now he returned to Redemption Creek to unmask the monster. Hastine walked back into Redemption Creek as the weak sun finally broke through, casting long, eerie shadows. He headed straight for the general store, the town's nerve center. Inside, settlers huddled, voices low, uncertainty hanging thick in the air. Sheriff Barlow looked exhausted. Marcus Cole stood near the stove, trying to appear casual, but his eyes betrayed a hunted look. Silence fell as Hastine entered. He walked to the center of the room, his gaze finding Cole's. His voice, when he spoke, was quiet but cut through the tension like a knife. Cole, you claimed the storm confused you, made you lose your way. Cole drew himself up. A terrible ordeal, yes. Thank God the children are safe. Your tracks say otherwise, Hastine stated, his voice devoid of emotion. They lead northeast first, into the broken lands, not east. Cole's face tightened. I was disoriented. Turned around. You rode to the ravine off Black Creek Fork. Hastine continued relentlessly. Hidden. Sheltered. Where you left Ben, Sarah, and Timmy. In clothes unfit for a mild chill, let alone a blizzard. You told them to wait. You promised to return. A wave of murmurs swept the room. Cole sputtered, denying it, calling it preposterous, blaming the boy's trauma. He remembers, Hastine countered, his voice hardening. He remembers your anger. He remembers you hurting his mother. Cole went pale. My wife. Mary died of fever. Months ago. Everyone knows. Hastine slowly opened his hand. The silver locket lay on his palm, gleaming dully. Then why was this buried beside a shallow grave, miles from anywhere? A grave you dug before you left your children for the storm? A collective gasp sucked the air from the room. Barlow stepped forward, his eyes locked on the locket, then Cole's crumbling composure. Martha Willow cried out softly, recognizing Mary's cherished possession. Cole stared at the locket as if it burned him. Cornered. Exposed. Suddenly, Ben pushed through the onlookers. Pointing a small, trembling finger, his voice rang out, clear and accusing. He pushed Mama. Down. She fell hard. She didn't get up. Then he put us in the wagon, said the snow would hide us. He lied. The dam broke. Cole lunged, not for escape, but insanely, towards the children, the source of his ruin. Hastine moved like lightning. A swift, economical interception. Cole staggered back, crashing against sacks of grain, his face a mask of wild panic and hate. The sharp click of Sheriff Barlow cocking his revolver echoed loudly. It's over, Cole, Barlow said, his voice filled with cold authority. It's done. Cole seemed to deflate, the monstrous energy draining away, leaving only a hollowed-out man facing the chilling consequences of his actions. The settlers stared, revulsion and fury replacing pity on their faces. Hasteen stepped back, his task complete. He met Ben's wide eyes, offering a silent nod of affirmation. The truth was out. Justice, raw and necessary, would follow. When the sun rose bright on a snow-drenched world the next day, the storm had passed. Redemption Creek began the slow process of mending. Marcus Cole waited in the town lockup for the territorial marshal, his name now spoken only with contempt. The lonely grave had yielded its sad secret, confirming the horrifying truth. The children were safe. Martha Willow held them close, her cabin a haven. The community wrapped them in support, offering silent comfort. The fear in their eyes lingered, but small sparks of resilience began to glow. Ben talked, finding relief in the spoken truth. Sarah drew birds. Timmy offered a fragile smile. They were survivors, forever marked, but alive. Hasteen watched the dawn paint the peaks. He prepared for the deep winter, his solitary existence unchanged, yet subtly altered. The settlers' gazes held a new weight, respect, gratitude, awe. He was the outsider who had listened to the wind's whispers, walked into the blizzard's heart, and dragged a terrible secret into the light. He turned back towards the quiet mountains, leaving the town to its fragile recovery. The frontier held both profound darkness and unexpected light. Hasteen carried the knowledge of both, a silent guardian shaped by the storm, forever remembering the cries in the snow and the terrifying truth unearthed. Peace had returned to Redemption Creek, but it was a peace hard one, forever shadowed by the evil that had walked among them, and the quiet courage that had brought it down.